Welcome to the UIAAA Connection podcast. The UIAAA would not be able to broadcast this podcast without the support of our business partners. Thank you to all of the gold and silver business partners of the UIAAA, BSN Sports, and our contact, Jeremy Macy. Final Forms, AMP, with contacts Julie Renner and Clay Burnett. Granite Canyon Wealth and our contact, Megan Palazzo. Jostens and our contact, Molly Shaheen. NCSA, Next College Student Athlete, and our contact, Paul Putnam. VNN Varsity News Network and our contact, Jason Jones. Thanks again to all of the gold and silver UIAAA business partners.
Welcome back to another edition of the UIAAA Connection podcast. I'm your host, Mark Hutch-Hunter. We have a special treat today. A little bit different than our other podcasts. Today we have 6 guests, our 6 UIAAA Scholarship winners. We will have them on in alphabetical order. First, Tate Bagley of Skyview, followed by Allie Bridges of Manti, McKenna Crane of Green Canyon, Noah Kjar of Corner Canyon, Cooper Pond of Logan, and Evan Thomas of Grantsville. Our first guest on the show today is Tate Bagley from Skyview High School. Welcome to the podcast, Tate.
Thank you.
Thanks for agreeing to be here. Why don't we begin by sharing with our listeners where you attended elementary and junior high schools?
So I attended Sunrise Elementary, and then I was at North Cache Junior High School.
Okay, so you live in Smithfield, I assume, correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so you're right there inside the boundaries. And share, if you will, Tate, any one or two experiences you had athletic success at a young age that you still remember in high school.
One athletic success that I had came in 8th grade. I played football, and we ended up winning the mini bowl that year. That was pretty special. We had been playing that was our last year of Little League football, and we'd been playing for 8 years together as a team, and we finally pulled it together and won that last year. So that was really special and pretty cool.
That's great. So explain to someone who's not from Cache Valley, what exactly is the mini bowl?
So basically, just for all, high schools kind of have younger teams that are named after them.
Sure.
And there are teams throughout all of Utah. So we kind of throughout the region or whatever, you play different teams, and then they have a playoffs that you go to. And so the mini bowl is just kind of, in a way, it's like, a Super Bowl or any bowl game, just on a really small scale. So
excellent. I like that. That's great. Thanks for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
Tate, let me ask you what it means to you to be a teammate.
Being a teammate to me just means like picking up your other teammates and just working together towards a common goal, like whether it's, winning a game or just competing and having fun. It just means, working together towards a common goal kind of.
And you've been, I'm sure, with quite a few of your teammates, obviously from what you said earlier, since you were at a very young age.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Many of my teammates, throughout football, baseball, wrestling, I've been playing with since I was 5, 6, 7 years old. So you kind of create a pretty good connection over the years.
Yeah, there's nothing quite like that bond. So let me ask you this question, Tate. Who's the best coach you ever had? And then tell us why.
The best coach I've ever had would be my dad. He has been the wrestling coach here at Skyview for the last couple of years, and then he's been helping out with baseball. So just, through coaching me for my whole life and all those areas, he's taught me, skills inside the sport, but then also, ways that, sports impact people's lives on a larger scale when it comes to learning life skills in school and, just people skills and things like that.
Well, let me ask a follow-up to that, because I know there's at least 2 other of the athletes that we're interviewing today that have had their fathers as coaches. Is that a tough deal, or is it harder on you to coach, to kids say, oh yeah, you're the coach's kid, so you get to play? Or, I mean, that's got to be tough sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit difficult, having, sometimes listening or taking critiques from a parent can be difficult, but I feel like at the same time, it's a pretty cool experience to be able to go through something like that with your dad. So I've enjoyed it.
Very good. Tate, if you would share two things that you would share with an incoming freshman that are two musts, things that they would have to do in order to be a successful scholar athlete by the time they're a senior.
I mean, two things, just on like the scholar side, the academic side would just be keeping up with the schoolwork, not procrastinating, making sure you're getting your stuff done on time so that you are able to focus on the athletic side. And when it comes to the athletic side, the other piece of advice that I would have is just making sure that you're always paying attention, as you're a younger kid in high school, watching the older kids and learning what you can so that you can be ready when it comes to your turn to step out on the field and make plays.
Let me ask you a question I haven't asked the other scholar athletes. I know your athletic director well, Ryan Grunig. How well do you get along with him? He's actually been a guest on the podcast before.
Grunig, he's a great guy. He's great friends with my parents, and so I've known Grunig for a long time. He's always coming with us on sports trips, and he's great to have along. He does a great job at his job, and he's a great guy. So I've enjoyed having him as our athletic director.
Excellent. Let's finish with this question, Tate. Where do you see yourself after you've graduated from college?
It's a good question. After I graduate from college, I haven't really decided what I'm going to study yet. I'm planning on serving a mission this summer, so I have a couple years to figure that out. But after I graduate from college, I plan on, beginning a career and then just kind of working from there, starting a family, stuff like that. But yeah, that's kind of my goal.
And would that university be Utah State, or you plan on going outside of Cache Valley?
I plan on attending Utah State as of right now. Yes, I do.
So you're a born and bred Aggie from your younger days, I'm sure.
For sure. Yes.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks once again. Our first guest on the podcast today has been Tate Bagley from Skyview High School. Thank you, Tate, for taking the time to be with us today.
Yep, it was a pleasure.
Our next guest is Allie Bridges from Manti High School. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for agreeing to be on it. Let's start off by having you share with our listeners where you attended elementary and junior high school.
I went to Ephraim Elementary School and Ephraim Middle School.
Okay, so you're homegrown Sanpete County then.
Yes, I am.
And grew up there and never moved, so that's great. And so how is it? Do you like living in Sanpete County? I've got a daughter-in-law from Milburn.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I really like it. Everyone there is super friendly and it's a small community, so I really like that.
That's excellent. Is there any particular success from your early years in elementary or junior high that you'd like to share with our listeners? Athletic success or scholar success?
Yeah. So when I was in about 5th grade, my dad, we started a soccer team that we took down to summer games, and we got killed the first couple of years we went down. But then my 7th and 8th grade years, we were able to win the gold medals. And that was really fun to be around those girls for that long and make all those memories with them.
Allie, what does it mean to you to be a teammate?
Okay, to me, being a teammate means putting the team above yourself. My senior year, our coach wanted to try a new formation, and I was really excited because it meant that I could play more on the offense and help my team. But the way it worked out was we didn't have a very good rotation in it because of just different skill levels of the girls. So we ended up playing our old formation, which was a little hard for me at first, but I realized that putting the team goals in front of my own was more important. So I think, yeah, that's just being a good teammate, doing your best to help all your teammates succeed.
Great answer. Thanks for sharing. Who was the best coach you ever had and why?
Okay. The best coach I ever had would probably be my dad. He coached me in soccer starting in 5th grade and then just all the way up. And then he was our JV coach in high school. And I know he put in a lot of hours to try and become the best coach he could possibly be. And also, he always made sure that we remember that it was a game and to have fun. One of his favorite sayings is actually, if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. And I thought that was really good because even if we started to take ourselves too seriously, he was always there to remind us to have fun.
So was it hard playing for your dad in high school?
There were times when it was a little hard, and it was interesting to come home after games and stuff. But he also did a really good job separating his dad state and his coach state. So that made it a little easier.
Good to hear. Allie, share with our listeners 2 things that you would share with an incoming freshman scholar athlete that they would have to have so they could succeed as a scholar athlete.
So the first thing I would say is definitely learn to balance your time and prioritize things, because you are really busy. You know, you go to games, you get back late, you still have to do your homework. So just to make sure that you have the priorities of knowing what you want to accomplish and being able to reach those goals and manage your time. And the second one would be to enjoy the ride, because it really does go by so fast. I remember being a freshman and thinking I had all this time left in high school, and now I'm a senior and it's all gone.
Well, tell me this before we get to our last question. Have you had any success in the senior season in track since you put in your application that has excited you?
In track?
Yeah.
I think it would probably be honestly just the fact that we get to run, because last year was COVID and it being canceled, I didn't get a track season. So I think just the fact that we get to run is a huge accomplishment, and I'm really grateful for that.
Well said. Let's finish with this question. Allie, where do you see yourself after you've graduated from college?
Okay, so I hope to eventually graduate with my Master's of Healthcare Administration and hopefully work in a hospital type setting. But then I also hope to be married and starting my own family.
And where are you going to school next fall?
I'm going to be going to Snow College next fall. So right in Ephraim.
So just up the road, obviously.
Yeah, it really is. It's like 2 blocks away.
All right. Well, that's excellent. Once again, our guest for this segment has been Allie Bridges from Manti High School. Thank you, Allie, for taking the time to be with us today.
Of course. Thank you so much.
Our next guest on the podcast today is McKenna Crane from Green Canyon High School. Welcome to the podcast, McKenna.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for agreeing to be on. Let's have you share with our audience where you attended elementary and junior high school.
Yeah, so I've been all over. So I attended Brownsville Elementary as along with Liberty Elementary School. And then I went to Lunsford Middle School, Spring Creek Middle School, and Cedar Ridge Middle School.
Okay, so where are all these schools? Are they?
Right. So the elementary schools, those are actually in Virginia. Brownsville's in Charlottesville, and then Liberty and Lunsford are in the DC Chantilly area. And then the rest are just here in Logan, Utah.
So when did you move to Logan?
I moved to Logan in 7th grade.
And so you were at 6 or 7 different schools. I assume you made friends fairly easily.
Yeah, it was a struggle, but when you do it so often, you get used to it. And so you kind of learn how to make friends quickly.
Well, share with our listeners, is there a particular athletic success from those years, your younger years, all around the country that you remember you'd like to share with them?
Yeah, of course. So in 7th grade, I attended this BYU soccer camp, and it was a week long, and there was probably 400 girls my age. And so we went through this brutal camp, and at the end they give out awards, and they named me MVP over all the girls my age. And so it was really probably my first big award for soccer, and I was beyond ecstatic. So yeah.
That's impressive.
Thank you.
So is that where you decided that you loved soccer so much, or was it before then?
I think it was gradual. I've grown up playing soccer my entire life since I was 3, and I fell in love with the sport so much. But I think that award really drove me to become a better soccer player and to really push myself to succeed more in that sport.
Excellent answer. Thanks for sharing.
Yes,
McKenna, what does it mean to you to be a teammate?
to me, this means having your teammates back on and off the field. I feel like it's really easy to say that you have their back in the sport, but a lot of people are struggling today. And so if we can extend our help outside of a sport and in all areas of their life, it really bonds a team together that no other way could. And it makes a team more of a family.
Thank you. Let me ask you this question, which I think may be one of the most important questions that we'll ask you today. Who was the best coach you ever had and why?
Alexis Bird was the best coach I ever had. She coached me in basketball for 4 years. And the reason why she was such an outstanding coach was because she cared about the individual player so much. And she really pushed us to succeed on outside of basketball in all areas of our life. And so I just look up to her so much because she helped me become my best self on and off the court.
And so I assume it was that way with all the young ladies on the team.
Yes, everyone felt very similar. We love Bird.
Very good. Thanks for sharing that. If you could share 2 things with an incoming freshman that they would have to do in order to be a successful scholar athlete, what 2 things would that be?
The 2 things I would share is first that you have to have grit. Grit is so important in academics and in sports. It's being able to persevere even when things are difficult. And there are going to be so many bumps along the road. In academics, you might have a really hard class, or in sports, you might have an injury. You know, there's different hard things. And so having the grit to be resilient even when things are hard is so vital. And the second thing I'd share is also time management. As a student athlete, you feel like your day is completely full and that you don't have time for anything else. And so when you use your time well and you use it to help you in any way you can, being a student athlete becomes easier.
Very wise. You're a very wise young lady. Let me finish with this question. Where do you see yourself after you've graduated from college?
I want to go to law school after college. And so I'll be applying to some law schools and hopefully, get in there. But I also want to be starting a family too.
And where are you planning on attending school?
I am attending my first year at Utah State, and then I will probably be transferring to BYU.
Okay. That's a great answer. McKenna would like to thank you for taking the time to be with us today. Our next guest this evening is Noah Kjar from Corner Canyon High School. Noah, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you for agreeing to be on the podcast. Let's begin by having you share with our audience the schools that you attended in elementary and junior high school.
So I lived in Lehigh, Utah for most of my childhood. So I went to Meadow Elementary from 1st through 5th grade, and then Dry Creek in 6th grade, and then Willow Creek Middle from 7th through 8th grade.
And so where'd you go to kindergarten?
Oh, I went to kindergarten in Salt Lake, and I went to Crestview,
Okay.
Crestview Cougars.
So was that hard moving to different schools, or was it just not a big deal at that age?
I feel like when I was younger, it wasn't as big of a deal just because you made friends like super easy. But as you get older, I feel like those connections you make when you're younger make a big difference in how friend groups and stuff form as you get older.
Okay. Has there been any athletic success from those early years in elementary or junior high that you'd like to share with our listeners?
No, no, I won the City League. Well, my team won the City League baseball championship, I think in 6th grade. So that was a pretty big deal to me because I used to love baseball, and I still do. I just don't play it anymore. But other than that, our football team was not good in Little League. So I don't have anything proud to share from that. So that's it.
All right. Let me ask you this, Noah. Who is the best coach you ever had and why?
I'd have to say my dad for sure, because he's pushed me to limits that I didn't even think were possible. He's taught me that hard work beats anything, no matter what, whether it's be talent or just luckiness. Hard work will always put you in the right position to succeed.
And for our listeners that may not be aware, so your father is the head coach of the football team at Corner Canyon, correct?
Yeah, he is. He's led us to 3 state championships in a row. And he's just an awesome coach and an even better dad.
And so is it tough being the coach's kid? I understand that you started as a freshman. Did people just look at you and say, oh, you're the coach's kid, that's why you're playing? Or was it not
I feel like maybe like some people in the community thought that, but I think on our team itself, they knew that I could play and that I had proved myself and I earned my spot on the roster without being the coach's son or any kind of bias. So I feel like I showed it on the field and just let my play talk for itself.
Excellent. Noah, what does it mean to you to be a teammate?
I think it means to know your job and to help, like to hold others accountable for doing their job on a team, as well as, you know, being a friend and being there when it comes to other things other than sports, you know, just building those relationships and just being there for them.
Is it different being a teammate as a team captain? I ask you because I read from your application that you've been a team captain 5 times, 3 times in football and twice in track. Does that put a little extra pressure on you, or is it different being a teammate when you're a captain?
I feel like it is a little bit different because maybe you feel forced to kind of reach out to everybody on the team, whether that be younger kids or just kids that you don't really know very well. But I don't know, this just to me, it kind of came naturally, like just talking to everybody on the team and wanting to get to know them better, and wanting the team to become better requires you to build relationships with kids that you normally like, that aren't in your normal friend group or your position group. So it just forces you to build a connection so you guys can build chemistry and hopefully go win a championship.
Excellent answer. Thanks for sharing, Noah. What 2 things would you share with incoming freshmen that would be a must in order for them to succeed as a scholar athlete?
Again, I would just say hard work, because I mean, I said it before, hard work will be anything, and hard work eventually will always pay off. And it's hard to see that, as sometimes I feel like when I was younger, it was hard for me to see that this work would actually pay off. But with the successes that I've recently had, it's been a huge blessing to know that hard work pays off. And then the other thing I would be to trust the process and have fun, you know, enjoy high school. It's over before you know it. And I mean, there's nothing like hitting the football field on a Friday night with all your boys. So just to enjoy it and to trust the process and do everything the right way.
Thank you. You mentioned recent success. So is there been some recent success in track that you'd like to share with our listeners that we may not have read about on your scholarship application?
Well, last week we our 4x1 team broke the state record again, broke our previous state record of 41.44, and we cut it down almost 0.2 to 41.25, which has never been done before, obviously, and hopefully we can break 41.
That's impressive. So are they track only kids, or are these football kids that are your relay teammates?
All 4 of us are football kids, and in fact, most of our sprinters are. In fact, almost all of our sprinters are football kids. So it's just great to have us compete in 2 different sports, and you know, just try and go win a state championship in something other than football. You know, to take our minds off of it.
Impressive. Let's finish with this question, Noah. Where do you see yourself after you've graduated from college?
I see myself either in the NFL or coaching high school football, just like my dad.
That's a great answer. Noah, thanks for taking the time to be with us today on the podcast.
Hey, thank you, Hutch.
Our next guest on today's podcast is Cooper Pond from Logan High School. Welcome to the podcast, Cooper.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks for agreeing to be on. Why don't we begin by sharing with our audience where you attended elementary and junior high schools?
I attended elementary school at Hillcrest Elementary in Logan, Utah, and then I attended Mount Logan Middle School.
Okay, so you grew up in Logan.
Yep. Born and
Because-
raised.
Because some of the athletes we've talked to have been to 2 or 3, actually 4 or 5 different schools. So you're an Aggie true and true then.
Yep. I'm an Aggie true and true.
All right, that's excellent. Tell me, is there any athletic experiences that stick out in your mind from your elementary or junior high days that you'd like to share with our audience?
Yes. One in particular, in my 8th grade year, it was a tradition for the 8th graders to play our faculty in a basketball game at the end of December to kick off Christmas break. And during that game, I hit the game-winning shot at the buzzer. And yeah, it was a really special moment. It was really surreal. And all the students rushed the court, and it was awesome.
That's great. How did the faculty take it?
They were a little bummed because they have like won for so many years straight, and then we were able to beat them for once.
Well, that's exciting. That's great news. Well, tell our audience, Cooper, what does it mean to you to be a teammate?
To me, a teammate is somebody who's always supportive through the ups and the downs of the season. And it's a really long season, just trying to get through all the hard times. So being supportive to everybody through those times is, I feel like, the most important of being a teammate. And then another thing is also learning a little bit more about them and knowing a little bit more about their personal lives and like where they come from, because I've had teammates who have just showed up to practice and didn't really care about any of their teammates. But being a good teammate is somebody who helps learn about their teammates' personal lives and and cares about other people.
That's excellent. I can tell by your answer that you've been a great teammate to many of your friends. Let me ask you this. Who was your best coach, and tell us why?
So playing 3 sports, I've had the opportunity to be coached by a lot of different people, and they have.
Okay, let me interrupt you. So give our listeners the 3 sports, because even though I know them, they haven't read your application.
I played football, basketball, and baseball for Logan High.
That's incredible. Oh, so continue. Sorry.
So through those 3 sports, I've had many different coaches, and they've all had different styles and different ways that they've ran their program. But one that sticks out is my basketball coach, Logan Brown. He has taught me a lot of lessons about basketball and a lot of lessons about how to be a better person and a better student, a better son, and a better father when the time comes. He's ran his program with things called standards of tradition, and they're like one-liners that he has like stapled all like in his office, and just tries to make sure he helps us learn like life lessons through those standards of tradition.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that. Let me ask you this, Cooper. If you could share 2 things with an incoming freshman that would make them for sure be a better scholar athlete, what would those 2 things be?
The first thing is not getting behind early in their freshman year. I've had a lot of friends who got behind their freshman year, and it's been an uphill battle trying to get their GPA back up ever since their freshman year. And then the other thing would be play as many sports as you can. There's no replacement for a competitive game, and competitiveness is something that I love, and I love competing. And so always look for opportunities to compete, whether it's in a different sport that you didn't think that you would play.
Thank you. Anything happening in baseball this spring that none of us would know about because your application came in the middle of January?
Nothing crazy. It's just going on smoothly. Thankful for the opportunity I get to play though, because of COVID. It was really uncertain especially in the fall, but I'm just grateful for the opportunity I get to play my senior year. But I think not quite, but I think I'll be awarded the academic all-state baseball. I'll be an academic all-state for baseball, so I'm excited so that's awesome for me.
It is impressive. Let's finish with this question, Cooper. Where do you see yourself after you've graduated from college?
After college, I see myself being an orthodontist. My grandpa and my uncle were both orthodontists. And so after about 10 or so years of schooling, I hope to end up being an orthodontist.
And let me go out on a limb. Are you going to be attending Utah State University?
I will be attending Utah State University for my undergrad.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Once again, to our listeners, our guest on this part of the podcast has been Cooper Pond from Logan High School. Thank you, Cooper, for being with us today.
Thank you.
Our final guest on the podcast today is Evan Thomas from Grantsville High School. Evan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
We're grateful that you took the time to be with us. Why don't we begin by having you share with our audience where you attended elementary school and junior high school?
I attended elementary school at Grantsville Elementary School, and I attended middle school at Grantsville Junior High.
So you've grown up in Grantsville all your life, obviously.
Yes, I have.
We've had some of our athletes that have moved around to different schools. So you had the benefit of having friends forever and ever.
Yeah, basically.
Is there a particular athletic success you had in your younger days that you'd like to share with our audience?
When I was younger, I used to be pretty good at soccer, and we had a really good soccer team. We had a little competition league team, and we got a few medals, few trophies back when I was 10 years old playing soccer. So that's probably my biggest athletic success from back when I was younger.
That's great. Thanks for sharing. Let me ask you this question, Evan. What does it mean to you to be a teammate?
To be a good teammate means to not only lift up your teammates and to care for others and be a good sport. It means to better your teammates, help them improve themselves, allow your teammates to help improve you as well, and overall just having good sportsmanship and helping your teammates realize their potential is what I think it means to be a good teammate.
Now, you've lettered in track, correct?
Yeah.
And track generally has more teammates than, let's say, a basketball team or such. Is it tougher? Is it tougher in track since you've got the field advance and the long distance kids and the sprint kids and the hurdle kids to get to know everybody?
I mean, I say, yeah, it's definitely tougher to know everyone, but I have friends. I've made friends, and I'd say about all the groups of the track kids, and it's nice to be able to be comfortable anywhere. And I think trying new things is a good way to be a good teammate in track as well. So sometimes I'll go to a different part of track or field and try it out and spend some time with the people there.
Excellent. Who was the best coach you ever had? And then tell us why.
The best coach I ever had was my cross country coach, Coach Moritzen. He's actually our athletic director now. But when he was our coach, so I started cross country and I couldn't run much at all. I was really bad at it. And I was pretty overweight, but he was so kind to everyone, and he motivated everyone the same regardless of their of their skill level. And he made sure everyone felt like they belonged on the team, and their efforts to improve mattered even if you were slower. And that really helped me get better and improve at cross country. And yeah, my coach Moritzen definitely made a big impact on my life.
That's a great story. Thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this, Evan. What 2 things would you share with an incoming freshman that would absolutely be necessary for the freshman to become a successful scholar athlete by the time they're a senior?
Well, I would say always put your academics first. Always put school first, and do the sports. Let the sports come later. And if you put school first, the sports will just come with it. Because if you can't get good grades and you can't succeed at school, you're not going to succeed in your sports. Because if you disciplining yourself in school is similar to disciplining yourself in sports, and you'll be able to improve at school and get good results from school if you put that effort in. And then sports, you can just worry about after you worry about your school, because without the grades or without the effort into school, it's much harder to perform well at sports.
Well said. Thank you. Let's end this little interview with this question. Where do you see yourself after you've graduated from college?
Well, I plan to go to medical school and become a doctor. And so I see myself in a hospital, working and caring for people and having a job that really brings people, that makes an impact in people's lives. Just like you, all the athletic directors and stuff, all you guys are so important to the kids and making a big impact in their high school years. And I just believe like that's where I see myself. I see myself working as a doctor and just making a big impact, saving people's lives and doing that. Yeah.
Well, that's a great dream, and we wish you the very best.
Thank you.
Once again, our final guest today has been Evan Thomas from Grantsville High School. Thanks, Evan, for taking the time to be with us. For our listeners, we hope you turn in again next Friday